Alrighty, so we are going to talk about topic 3, which is writing sequences from recursive formulas. But before I get into that, I did want to give you a chance to check your homework from last night. A lot of people get confused on this topic because they think that it's too easy, and it actually kind of is. So I wanted to give you a chance to look at this and hopefully boost your confidence as you look and see that you were actually probably doing things correctly. I'm going to scroll through it kind of fast just because you have the ability to pause this video if I'm going too fast. So here's the beginning. And here's the end. So again, if it went too fast, just go back, pause it, look at what you need to check. If you have any questions or anything you're confused about, you can always ask me when I get back. Send me an email, post on a discussion board, or come by before after school. So let's get into topic 3. It says for the geometric sequence 3, 6, 12, 24, 48, what is the recursive formula? So it's just a little review from yesterday. We would have a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 times 2, because this is just doubling as we go through the pattern, times 2 times 2 times 2. Okay? Just quick little review. Hopefully, check, we're good with that. Ooh. The next problem says we're considering the recursive formula a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 plus 9. What would the first 5 terms of the sequence be? And then what other information do you need? So, okay, we're adding 9 to the previous number, but what is the previous number, right? You may think, okay, we'll just start at 0. So it'd be 0, 9, 18, 27, etc. Or maybe it's starting at 1. It'll be 1, 10, 19, 28, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe you're starting at 12, and then it'd be 21, 30, 39, blah, 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 right? So all of these sequences that I just wrote out, all 3 of these, follow that same rule that they gave me. So how do I know, oops, not plus, minus. How do I know which one is correct, right? The answer is that these are all correct based off what they gave me. That's where that other question, what other information do you need, comes into play. Because we need at least one of the terms to know, like a starting place. We have to know what are we adding 9 to, right? So here's what recursive formulas should actually look like. We didn't get into this yesterday just because I didn't think it was necessary. But now you can see that when you're trying to create a sequence, you at least need the first term or maybe even the 4th or the 5th or something in order to figure out the rest of the sequence terms. So looking at number 1, it says our rule is a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 minus 2. And it says that a sub 1 is negative 2. So they've given me the first term as negative 2. Well, if I want anything after that, I just go back to my rule, which says I'm just going to subtract 2 every time. So my next number would be negative 4, negative 6, negative 8, negative 10. I just subtracted 2 as I went down the row. Okay, et cetera, et cetera. Just ask me to give the first 5. So the next one, same thing. It says a sub 1 is negative 3. Okay, so that's my starting point. And then I look at my rule, and it says you're going to multiply by a negative 3. Okay, so that'd be positive 9, negative 27, let's see, positive 81, times 3, that'd be negative 243, right? 3, yep. Et cetera, right? So again, when they give you that first number, not only is it nice because it just gives you the first number, but it also is kind of the only way to do it so that you know, in this case for number 3, what to subtract 5 from. So again, for this one, subtract 5 would be 34, subtract 5, 29, subtract 5, subtract 5, etc. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and let you try the right-hand side here, 4, 5, and 6. Again, they're giving you the first number, and then you just look to see whatever you need to do to that first number to create the rest of the pattern. So go ahead and you pause the video as well, work out those 3, and then resume the video. Make sure you've paused. Some of y'all are probably not pausing. Make sure you pause. Alrighty, so there's the answers I came up with. Check to see that we got the same thing. Again, they give you the first number. The rest of it is just following the pattern that they give you. The first one was times 5. Next one, adding 200. Last one, multiplying by 3. Okay? So We're going to kind of get into this a little bit deeper now. It says given the first term and either the common ratio or common difference, find the first 5 terms again. So pretty much exactly the same. They just haven't written it in the official notation. So on number 7, they're saying a sub 1 is 1. And then they tell you that the common ratio is 2. Well, you have to know that that 2 is either going to be add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So the fact that it's a ratio, common ratio, that means it's being multiplied. So times 2, times 2, times 2, times 2. Okay? Because some people would put plus 2 because they wouldn't remember that the r is the ratio. Number 8, same story. They've given you the first term. Then it says that d is negative 10. Well, again, you have to remember that that's a common difference. That's something that you are adding or subtracting, not multiplying. So I'm going to subtract 10, subtract 10, subtract 10, subtract 10. Okay. Next section, again, just kind of exploring this a little bit more. Given 2 terms in a sequence, find the recursive formula and the 8th term. Okay. So it says geometric sequence, a sub, oh, I wonder if that's a typo. It says a sub 4, I think this is a typo. A sub 4 is negative 12. This is supposed to say a sub 5 is negative 6. So I don't know what 1, 2, 3 are, but I know that a sub 4 is negative 12, and a sub 5 is negative 6. Again, that's supposed to be a 5 in there. So they want to know what the recursive formula is. Well, if this is geometric, all I need to do is figure out, well, how do I go from here to here? How do I multiply or divide? Well, I multiply by half. So my rule would be a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 times a half. Okay, so if I want the 8th term, I've stopped at the 5th right now. My next one would be negative 3, negative 1.5. Where am I at? 5, 6, 7. One more would be negative 0.75. Is that right? Why can I not do math? Is that right? 0.75. Okay, so there's the rule, and there's the 8th term. Okay. So number 10, geometric sequence. A sub 5 is 1296. So again, I don't know the first term, second term, third, fourth. I know the 5th is 1296, and the 6th term is negative 380 or 3,888. Well, again, it's hard to know if I'm looking for addition or subtraction here, or multiplication and division, but it tells me it's a geometric sequence. So in order to get my common ratio, remember you do the new term divided by the previous term. So in this case, I've got negative 3,888 divided by 1296. Typing it into a calculator, and I get negative 3. So I now know my common ratio is negative 3, so I can write my formula. Times, did I say negative? Negative 3. In order to get the 8th term, I just need to extend this 2 more terms, right? So if I stopped at negative 3,888, and I multiply by negative 3, that gives me 11,664. I need to go one more. And my 8th term, a sub 8, would be negative 34,992. Okay? Same thing over here on the right. They're just giving us arithmetic sequences. So number 11, I don't have the first term, but it says f of 2 is 16, and f of 3 is 24. Okay? Etc. Well, again, if they're telling you it's arithmetic, that means something was added here. So how do I add to go from 16 to 24? Plus 8, right? So my formula would have a big old plus 8 on the end. So in order to get to the 8th term, I just sit here and I start adding 8s until I get to my answer. So 32, 40, 48, 56, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more plus 8 would be 64. Okay? So those would be 2 answers there. So feel free to try this last one on your own. They're giving you a sub 4, so I don't know the first three. A sub 4 is negative 32. A sub 5 is negative 38. So you're looking to see what would the common difference be, because it's arithmetic, finding the formula, and then finding that missing 8th term. Okay, pause if you're not ready for me to go over it, if you want to try it on your own. But our formula would be a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 minus 6. So we went down 6. So our 8th term, I'm just going to count it out. The next one would be negative 44. Next one would be negative 50. Next would be negative 56. Alrighty. So again, let me know if you have questions on any of this when I return. Let's move into some word problems. Edgar's getting better at math. On his first quiz, he scored 57 points. Not so good. But then he scored 61 and then a 65. Okay? So it says if his scores continue to increase at the same rate, what will be his score in the 9th quiz? Part A says find the nth term. All that means is find a formula, right? So we know it's going to start like all the rest of them do, like this. We just need to figure out something being added, subtracted, multiplied, divided. Well, just by looking at it visually, I always try addition first in my mind. I can tell that that is going to be plus 4 plus 4. So it's going to continue to be plus 4. So I've got plus 4 into my formula here. They want to know about the 9th quiz. Well, we've got the first 3 here, so I need to work my way all the way out to the 9th. There's really no other way to do this than to just count it out until we learn about explicit formulas. Plus 4, plus 4. I don't know where I need to stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9. So 89. Okay. I always get very nervous when I'm making these videos that I'm just completely messing up because I have no class here to tell me if I'm adding wrong or something. Okay, another one. Suppose you drop a tennis ball from a height of 15 feet. After the ball hits the floor, it rebounds to 85% of its previous height. Okay, 85% of something, you do 0.85 times that number. Okay, so before we figure out the next height, we need to multiply it by 0.85. If you got a calculator, you should get 12.75, right? You could do it again to figure out the next one, multiply by 0.85. We get 10.8375. Again, we could keep this going and going and going. So it says find the nth term. Again, all they mean by that is find the formula. Starts the same. What we were doing over and over was multiplying by 0.85 because it's 85% of the previous number. So how high will it rebound after its third bounce? We happen to go out that far, 10.8375. Okay? So word problems aren't that big of a deal here either. It's just going to give you a pattern. So the rest of this is really just practice, but I will say we've got some weird problems here that I kind of want to point out. If you look at number 15, it says a sub n is equal to 3 times a sub n minus 1 plus 1. So you'll notice that there's 2 things happening here. We've got the 3 and the 1. Well, regardless of that, they've told me that a sub 1 is 7. So I know I can start with that, just like you can with literally every single problem. Remember, they have to give you a starting point. Okay? But then I again use my formula. The way I read this is important. It says a sub n, so the term I want is equal to 3 times the previous term plus 1. So what is 3 times this 7 and then plus 1? Well, 3 times that would be 21, plus 1 would be 22. So then I do it again. 3 times that plus 1. Well, 22 times 3 is 66, plus 1, 67. Then I do it again. Times 3 plus 1. I'm getting out my calculator just for time's sake, so 67 times 3 plus 1. 202. One more number. Times 3 plus 1. 607. Okay, now I put this on here just to show you that there are other types of recursive formulas where you are still just going to do what it says to do. If it says to add 1 over and over, that's what you're going to do. But if it says to multiply by 3 and add 1 over and over, that's what you're going to do. This is not geometric and not arithmetic. This is actually a neither situation because it's both multiplication and addition, which makes it not arithmetic or geometric, but it still has a formula. So I just kind of want to make sure I showed you an example of that. So number 16 here, same thing. They've given you a little bit more of a complicated formula that says you're going to multiply by -4 and subtract 3. So again, I need to multiply this by -4 and then subtract 3. So times -4 would be -48, minus 3 would be -52. No, 51. What did I say? 48, 51. Then again, we do it again. Times -4, then subtract 1. Again, I am getting out a calculator to save time. -51 times -4 minus 3 gives us 201. Okay, then again, that number times -4, subtract 3, -807. Times -4, subtract 3, 3,225. Okay. Number 17, back to normal. The only thing that's going on is this times -2. So +2, -4, +8, -16. Because I'm just multiplying by -2 over and over and over. Okay. This right-hand side I'm about to explain. However, just know that if these last 3 confuse the poo out of you, don't base your understanding on these 3 because they're weird examples. These are like challenge problems that I would have skipped if I was not doing this in a video. So if you would like to, you have my complete and total permission to pause the video now, color your checklist, and move on to your homework. Okay, but if you're curious about these, feel free to keep on listening and I will explain. So number 18, you'll notice, actually gives you a sub 1 and a sub 2. So they've given us 4 and 5 as starting points. Because if you look at the formula, it says that to get a number, you need to take the one before it and the one before that, because it's -2, and add them together. So in order for me to get this number, I need to take the 2 before it and add them, which would be 9. In order for me to get this next number, I need to take the 2 before it, 9 and 5, add them to get 14. To get the next number, I need to add the 2 before it, and I would get 23. Okay? Again, just like a challenge problem here. So number 19, they give us, I'll switch colors since I'm getting a little into this other territory. They give us -4 as the first number, and then they say that to get the next number, you take the previous one and add in. Well, that's kind of different. I'm looking for, right now, a sub 2. That means my n is 2. So I need to take this previous number and add 2. Okay? Well, now I'm looking for a sub 3. That means the third number. So I'm going to take my previous number and add 3. Okay? Now I'm looking for a sub 4, so my n is 4. I'm going to take my previous number and add 4. A sub 5. 5 is now my n. So I'm going to take my previous number and add 5, etc., etc. Okay? Number 20, last one. They've got a fraction here, but they still give you the first number as 10. And they say in order to find the next number, you add 2 to the previous number and then divide by 2. So I'm going to add 2 here and I get 12, but then divided by 2 is 6. Then go to the next number, I'm going to add 2, which is 8, divide by 2, which is 4. Then I'm going to add 2, which is 6, divide by 2, I get 3. Am I doing this right? 12, 6, 8, yep. Add 2 and I get 5, and then I divide by 2 and I get 2.5, etc., etc. Okay? Again, those are just kind of challenge questions. Most of them will be a little bit more straightforward. So, if you haven't already, color in your checklist. We have now learned all 3 things. You've been exposed to all 3. So this I can statement said I can write a sequence from any formula. So if you think you can read a formula and create the first 5 terms, color this thing in, hopefully with a big old green or maybe at least a yellow. Okay? Then move on in Schoology to the next thing, which will be your practice page, and use that again as a guide to make sure that you know what you understand and what you need help on. And then there's a place in Schoology for you to post some questions if you have any things that you're still concerned about. So I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow, and hopefully you are feeling good about sequences.